What is up, friend and fellow anti-netter? Scott Shepard here, coming to you on a Friday at 10:58 a.m. anti-meridian, and I'm driving, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. Last night was, and just all day yesterday was just progressively, it got way more freaking excruciatingly frustrating in terms of my mood and sentiment. And here's why. Every Thursday, I have a habit in practice, and you know this if you've read issue number 2 of the Scott Shepard letter, wherein I write a weekly email. And writing a weekly email, for me, I treat it as a craft, an art, right? So I literally write it out on a yellow legal pad, pen and paper, and I try to be quick about it, not get too insanely deep, but at the same time, it takes a lot of mental energy and work. And even though my whole message is, about, hey, the key to making a killer multi-six-figure living, you can do it by writing one thing a month. And, what I really mean by that refers to the newsletter, because you don't have to necessarily spend an excruciating amount of time writing your weekly email. And so the thing, though, that has always been prevalent in my message is that the deliberate way, the hard way, the old way is the best way. But let me tell you, it fucking sucks. Like, this is not a life of pure bliss and enjoyment and laziness. I mean, to a certain extent, you can get there, and it is some of the time. But other times, during crunch time, and by crunch time, I mean the past 2 weeks of each month, or the last 2 weeks of each month, I spend writing my physical monthly newsletter. So the first week I usually write it all out by hand, and then the second week I transition into typing it up in editing mode. And make no bones about it, I feel like, oh my God, like I feel like when I'm driving to the office right now, I am like, okay, well, I'm going to hell. Wish me luck. And it's half kidding, tongue in cheek. And I say it, I'm going to hell because there is a part of it that feels like hell, but then a part of it that paradoxically, once you get in flow, it feels like heaven. And even though it's hard work and it's not easy, it is hell. It is freaking hell when you pour out your mind on paper and are forced to think and put things into words. And I mean, your freaking ideas, it's so easy for me to share my thoughts right here, right? Because it's fluid, it's fast, and I can cover a lot in a short amount of time. With writing, I have to freaking spend so much time going deep and covering a seemingly very little amount of stuff, but it slows down the mind such that there's subtleties in the way that I say things when I write that cannot be reproduced. And it's not easy. It's hell. It's excruciating sometimes. And so yesterday, I'm in the middle of writing my issue number 5 of my physical monthly newsletter. And it just so happens that, yesterday was Thursday, which means that I have to spend the first half of the day writing an email, which is also excruciatingly mind intensive and mind draining and energy draining. And when you add on all the other bullshit on top of this, things like customer support emails, shipping issues, stuff like that, and they're small, like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here, but they are small issues like that. Like, oh, hey, it's been like 6 weeks and I haven't received issue number 3. And I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just bundle it into issue number 5. And that's fine. By the way, as I'm driving, I'm turning left right here, and thank God I am in chill mode in my Plaid, because there's this girly ass red AMG Mercedes. Nothing against AMG Mercedes, by the way, because this freaking phenomenal, amazing, gorgeous, beautiful Earth Angel that I'm currently infatuated with also drives an AMG. I believe it's an AMG. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, this little red 2-door pussy AMG is tempting me, and I think he wants to play ball, but I don't want to emasculate him or her right now because I'm in chill mode and driving. God. Anyway, what I want to express to you, like, this shit isn't easy. And so yesterday, like, I got done with writing that email, and each time I was playing with like kind of email formats lately, and I wrote an email like the pros and cons of meditation. That was just like like an experiment, and I went off script, and I really don't intend to ever go back to that format. But if the email that I sent yesterday, if I do say so myself, fellow subscriber and anti-netter Terry Greer responded right away, and he's like, "This is the best one yet." And I feel like the email I wrote yesterday is really freaking damn good. And I'm getting back to the core message, back to creating the movement around the anti-net. And the email I wrote yesterday was, "Analog knowledge is the future." So you may have seen that one. The problem is, right now, like, I've spent so much time and energy investing in writing my physical monthly newsletter, and also energy in random projects and things that are going on in the background that are going to come to fruition here, in more of a long-term fruition, long-term projects. But those little things eat up my time. And the thing is that most of my time is just like, I have to be very, very careful about how I allocate my time. So I spent, after I wrote that email yesterday, it was like around like 5 o'clock, and I hadn't written a single word yet of where I left off yesterday with issue number 5. So I'm like, God, now after all of that freaking mind toil of writing that email out by hand and then typing it out, formatting it, editing it, which is you have to edit your emails in a very specific way when you send out emails. Like, I like to view them on my phone, because you want to view your emails in the format most likely that your readers are going to view it, and then edit it. Anyway, after all of that toil and like 4 or 5 hours of just mind energy work, I was spent like an hour going, God, like I need to recharge my mind, but I really need to start writing more of issue number 5. And I found myself kind of procrastinating, but really sort of productively procrastinating. What I started doing was, on my office wall, there's a whiteboard. And I started whiteboarding out all of my processes, meaning all of the activities that I do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and ad hoc basis. And then, under that, I outlined what I believe to be my zone of genius. And it's hard to, like, a year ago, and I've done this progressively for like 2 years, I've like, can't really figure out or decide upon my zone of genius. And at some points I'll be like, oh, my zone of genius is copywriting, or my zone of genius is landing page building, or my zone of genius is media buying or advertising. But really my latest version of my zone of genius centers on 3 things. Number 1, my zone of genius is passion. When I get passionate about something, you motherfuckers can experience it. And sorry, I'm dropping a lot of F-bombs lately because you can get my sentiment, my attitude. I'm just like freaking drained and frustrated from yesterday, and passionate, So to my fellow subscribers and anti-netters like Kathleen, who is a amazing human being and Catholic. Yes, I am being a unsuitable Catholic boy right now by dropping so many F-bombs in my email yesterday, but I do it out of passion, and I'll clean it up once I get a little less hot-headed here in a few days, maybe probably by today. But the overall thing is, and what you can sense is, I think my zone of genius, especially with the Anti-Net Zettelkasten and me filming those videos with my freaking note cards and everything, is passion. When I get into something, passion is a huge aspect of something that is my zone of genius. And I think that can come out in everyone. And passion is something that is super, super freaking important. And so that is one thing that I want to embrace and make sure that I do not stop doing. The second thing I want to make sure that I do not stop doing is, in my second form of zone of genius, is creativity. I'm very creative in finding these like insanely complex things and then simplifying it and being very creative about it. And this helps me very much in kind of creating messaging. It helps me in inspiring people and writing landing page copy. I can kind of be my one of my areas of improvement though is I nerd out and get excited about very complex things. And even though I can kind of simplify it in my own mind, like I can kind of make things complex still for others that don't have the patience and concentration to sit down and really digest what I'm trying to say. So that's an area of growth for me, is the trying to be more trying to be okay with more a simple message. But at the bottom line is creativity is another area of genius for me to embrace. And then the third area, I believe, is writing slash probably you could say copywriting as well, but I think I'm a better writer than necessarily copywriting. Like copywriting can be very cheesy, right? Copywriting essentially means inspirational writing in such a way that you prompt someone to take action, like buy a product or sign up for your email list or whatever. So I'm looking at my activities yesterday on the whiteboard, and really I think the thing, like there's a lot of things I can do and might still do, like doing those podcast type interviews, right? Where I interview people, which I think people really like. But there's a few things that I looked at. I'm like, you know what? Like this is not my zone of genius, and I might just start to embrace my zone of genius. And I feel like my zone of genius activities are, number one, writing the physical monthly newsletter. And the emails are important. The weekly emails are important. However, I think there's ways that I can speed up that process and make it less mind intensive, such that I'm not dedicating like half or like 80% of a day every single week to doing that. It's just not sustainable. It's not doable. The other thing that I really like, and I'm going to start popularizing this more, is I've really enjoyed doing these podcasts where I share my thoughts, my true, authentic, passionate thoughts with you, while driving in the car, right? And this is something I want to do and make sure that these are being published every Monday and Wednesday, so that you'll have some consistency. Like at one point I did these every day. I don't think that's necessary. So every Monday and Wednesday, that's the plan. Okay. And you'll see me popularize this very soon. Probably by the time you listen to this. Just took a sip of coffee. So, that is one thing that I'm going to continue to really hone in on and embrace. And then the third thing is I want to be able to get my passion shown through via, I might start to do more of the YouTube videos in which, it's me kind of holding the camera and going on rants and teaching Zettelkasten style, Anti-Net style, and those types of videos. And that's it. And then in the background, in the works, I have this insanely just like the next biggest thing that I'm working on that I'm super excited about, that I'm not going to get into too much specifics, but my goal is to create an army of independent creators, independent intellectuals, independent writers who are all making multi-six figures a year, like me, if they so choose, but making a massive impact via the form of analog knowledge products, meaning physical books, physical newsletters, maybe physical guides, physical cheat sheets, other physical knowledge products. I think analog knowledge products are the freaking future. Analog knowledge development, of course, is the secret for actually creating the best version of knowledge products. So anyway, I'm going to be releasing something at some point here, and I've been working on it for it's been in my mind for the past year, but I've been working on it for the past 3 months really hard. Whenever I have the time, meaning whenever I'm not spending 2 weeks writing my physical monthly newsletter. So anyway, what I want you to get from this is to really identify your own zone of genius and embrace it, go all in on it, and continue to experiment. You've seen it for me firsthand in listening to these podcasts of me constantly testing, constantly evolving, and that's what it takes. All right. I'm going to go in and get a freaking haircut at John's Barber Lounge right now. So that's all I'm going to say. So I hope you enjoyed this. And always remember to stay crispy, my friend.